The RCMP and Justice Canada admit they collect no data on arsons that lead to wildfires. Here we go again, another example of the federal government just shrugging its shoulders when pressed for answers about real issues facing Canadians. Conservative MP Mark Dalton asked an order paper question about wildfires caused by arson between 2016 and 2024. He wanted to know how many charges were laid, what sentences were given, and the details of these arson-caused wildfires. You know what he got? A classic bureaucratic brush-off. The Justice Department and the RCMP both claim they don't have the data. Apparently, their records management systems can't even differentiate between a wildfire and a structure fire caused by arson. Think about that for a second. This is the government that is pouring billions into climate initiatives, telling us that wildfires are proof of the so-called climate emergency, and yet they can't or won't tell us how many of these fires were deliberately set. And let's not kid ourselves about why. Admitting and tracking arsons that result in wildfires flies in the face of the federal government's pro-carbon tax agenda. They want you to believe that every wildfire is a direct result of climate change, full stop. That's their justification for pushing a carbon tax that's driving up the cost of living for every single Canadian. If the government admits that human activity, arson, not emissions, is behind a significant number of these fires, their entire narrative starts to crumble. But we know better. In Alberta, Premier Danielle Smith is already investigating whether arson played a role in Alberta's wildfires. She's doing what Ottawa refuses to do, actually trying to get to the truth. And it's not just Alberta. In British Columbia, RCMP say arson was behind 29 wildfires in the Okanagan over 4 years. And in Quebec, we know arsonists have been charged for setting massive fires that made international headlines. So why is the federal government so reluctant to dig into this? Is it incompetence? Could be. Or is it because the truth undermines their so-called climate emergency narrative? Admitting human responsibility, especially criminal intent, would force them to shift focus from their green agenda to addressing real criminal issues. And that doesn't fit with their climate crusade, does it? It's more than just bad governance. This is dangerous. We're talking about lives lost, property destroyed, and entire communities displaced. People deserve answers, not excuses. Instead, Ottawa hides behind a curtain of decentralization and, quote, impossible timelines. Well, enough is enough. If the provinces can start asking questions and investigating, why can't the feds? And this isn't just about statistics. This is about accountability. If you're going to use wildfires as a pretext to impose sweeping climate policies and tell Canadians how to live their lives, you better be ready to back it up with facts, not flimsy excuses about database limitations. Canadians are waking up, and we won't have a government that uses someone else's crimes to justify tax grabs on the innocent anymore. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. Justin Trudeau's inflationary carbon tax is making every aspect of Canadian life more expensive. It's part of the Great Green Reset. To sign our petition against Justin Trudeau's use of the climate scare to control your life, please go to nogreenreset.com.